Again, you can always sit in a chair if your legs don't achieve a cross-legged position easily. But if you are sitting in a chair, don't sit in the back, try not to slouch. Just take the backs of your hands to your kidney area and just brush them up and down. And as you brush down, you want to make sure that the sacrum, the tailbone are rounded, and that there's not too much of a roundedness to your spine, to your low back. If there is, you can take that towel roll or yoga block and sit on it. And that'll just allow you to feel a little bit taller and more easeful in the low back. And then as your hands, the back of your hands brush up, just feel how the rib cage is encouraged to lift from the posterior serratus. So a little quick trick to just keep the upper body, and by upper body I mean above the diaphragm, in a state of lift or expansion, and the lower body from the diaphragm down through the legs to be grounded. These two energy paths, which we could call them prana in the upper body and apana, groundedness, in the lower body, are always doing a little bit of a dance. And now as we begin to breathe, closing the eyes and inhaling and exhaling, opening the mouth. Feel the ribs moving and contracting, opening and releasing as the lungs fill. See if you can feel the shoulder blades also open a little bit on the inhale. Maybe hold the next inhalation for a moment or two, and exhale, release. Two more. Again, maybe holding or capping off the inhale briefly, just to feel this expansiveness. And exhale. Now go ahead and walk your hands forward. And if you're working with a chair, you can always use the seat of the chair in front of you to place your forearms. But otherwise, the straight arms inclined forward. And take 5 or so breaths, keeping your sacrum, your tailbone, your sitting bones connecting with the ground. But just breathing into that back body. In a mild flexion. Wherever you are in your forward fold, go ahead and come up and just take a twist over to the left. Think of lengthening through that left rib cage as you press down with the left sit bone, and then exhale, just a slight rotation. And go ahead and take your right hand, like you're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, to the front of the left shoulder, the collarbone. And you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just brushing, as I did with my back ribs, from the sternum, with the heel of my palm, out to the shoulder. So on the inhale, you can feel the lungs fill into that right hand. And then exhale, just brush gently outward toward the shoulder. A little adjustment. You can do this a few times. Meanwhile, the hips are just staying planted. Let's try the other side. We're going to rotate to the right. I may be mirrored imaging you. You can grab your right knee with your left hand, if that works for you. And the first thing is just to feel the groundedness in that right sitting bone. A lot of people will lean away from the twist. And then do the Pledge of Allegiance with your left hand so that the heel of your palm is right on the center line, the sternum. Inhale, fill. Exhale, brush gently out toward the shoulder. And just repeat that a few times, working with the mechanics of your breath. And keep your right elbow slightly bent so that the trapezius muscles of the neck are not getting tight as you work this rotation. Again, you don't want to push too hard on that shoulder. You're just giving it a pathway, a suggestion, if you will. And then coming back to center. And we're going to take our towel rolls now, and we'll do 2 towel roll positions. So watch first, it's going to be the supported back bend. So we'll take the towel roll right about to the shoulder blade tips, slide the hips forward. And just catch those shoulder blade tips. Take a peek first. I'm going to support my head with my hands. And I just waggle a little bit so I get right on those tips. And then I just lean back. I can keep my head supported here. And I can breathe with the bent knees. I can breathe straightening the legs, kind of like I'm at the beach. And I'm going to gently pull the toes back toward me on inhale, and exhale, push the toes away. So get comfortable, and if this is too much of a back bend, and you feel like the arch in your low back is extreme, then go back to the bent knee bridge pose option. But you can still work the toes, pulling them back toward you on inhale, and then lifting your heels to point your toes on exhale. So the legs and the feet action can aid and abet the action of the breath. And let the spine start to move a little bit on that towel roll. So as you exhale, go ahead and push the spine into the towel roll. As you inhale, lift and roll over it. It's a micro movement. Now everybody, if your legs are extended, hold them back, and now see if you can just release your hands from behind your head now. That's not too much, not too extreme. If you feel any pinching in your neck, you can adjust the neck, lengthen it with your hands, and or take the towel roll and reduce its diameter. Now I'm going to take the arms straight out like a snow angel. And the third option, by the way, if this is too much of a back bend in your thoracic spine, just roll off and do it without the towel. So here we are in bridge with our snow angel arms, inhaling. And exhale, we're going to just drop the knees a little bit to the left, let the head roll in the same direction. Inhale to center and drop the knees a little bit to the right. And go mildly here. And so that we're just gliding along the fascia of the rib cage, mid-rib cage, and moving. We're trying to move the fascia away from the spine and out along the side ribs. So the more you rotate, and you guys should see what I'm doing here, you can just start to move. Inhale to center, exhale to the side, to your own measure. And again, we're letting the head roll in the same direction as the knees, the bent knees. The next time you go over to the left, with the knees and the head stay, and start to dig in or push with your right knee, your upper knee away from you on the diagonal. So you're starting to lift the right hip off the ground if it's not already, and starting to extend that right knee
diagonally toward the front left corner of your mat. Go easy. You're going to feel a little stretch in your psoas muscle in the inside of the right leg. And as you do this, you can, without even looking to your right, start to spread the fingers of your right hand and lift the pinky finger of the right hand off the mat. So you start to have external rotation. Okay, let's come back to center. Inhale and exhale, glide the knees over to the right. Letting the head go in the same direction. Maybe your right hip gets all the way to the ground. Now we're going to start to dig in and push on the diagonal with the upper knee, which is the left knee, and move it away from us. Move it away to that front right corner of the mat. It's going to lift the left hip off the ground a little bit, maybe even the left shoulder. Now you're going to start to spiral, extending your left arm away from you. Spread the fingers, lift the pinky finger off the ground, external rotation. And we're stretching the same fascia as we do this a few times. And if it's confusing, the verbal cues, you can roll off to the side, take a peek. And again, you don't have to do it with a towel. You can see what I'm up to here with this rotation. And then two subtle and very fruitful stretches, both on the same side. The upper knee moving diagonally away from us, that same side arm externally rotating. To open up the pectoralis minor in front of the shoulder, which we already did when we did the Pledge of Allegiance move at the beginning of class. So now, once you've gone off to the side your final time, you're going to skillfully move your towel roll. You may need to roll off to the side and come up to do this, but if you've done it enough times as I have, to take your towel roll forward toward your hips and put it right under your sacrum. So get situated, and then you can pull your knees into your body, taking them wider than the hip width. And just gently holding those knees in what would be a mild flexion in the low back. Then breathe into those back ribs as we did at the beginning of class, expanding the back ribs both into the floor and the top of the pelvis, pressing into the towel roll. It's a very subtle use of the breath, expanding the body, not doing much visually. The knees can push into the hands, and they go nowhere because the hands are holding them. Back of the neck still long. As the shoulders roll back, and the shoulder blades also plant more deeply flat into the mat as you inhale and exhale, release and protract. Okay, so carefully take the feet down away from you. Take the arms toward the hips for bridge pose. Inhale, spin the palms to the sky and roll the shoulders back. And exhale, lift the hips up just a little bit. 5 breaths. Let the chin nod toward the chest, the back of the neck lengthen, the tailbone move away. Now both knees are moving away from us energetically. One of your hands, you can remove the towel roll and come back down and extend one leg long on the mat, the other leg long on the mat. And now we're down on our back, taking whatever allowances you need. And some people, because of the construction of their body, like to have a support for their head. So that's how that would look with the towel roll over my head. Now I'm going to take my right knee into both hands, Attanasana. I'm just going to hold that right knee. Let the knee move away from me to create a little bit of contrast. And The left leg is extended along the mat with the toes pulled back. Steady, calm breath, and see if you can roll your right hip forward, the outer right hip forward, because most times when you hug the right knee into the hands, that right hip hikes up a little higher than the left, and we want to try and mitigate that and match the pelvic halves evenly. Now we're just going to hold the right knee with the right hand, let the left arm come out like a wing, as we had moments ago, inhaling, and exhale, start to peel open the right knee. Holding it with the right hand, maybe your right elbow goes down into the ground like a kickstand, so that your right knee is hovering halfway out to the right. And the toes are flexed back toward you. Breathe here. Come back to center. We're going to straighten that right leg to your degree and bind the hands in the back of the hamstring. And again, go ahead and experiment with your toes and pull them back toward you. Inhale, point them away from you on exhale. You're binding both hands, interlacing your fingers on the belly or the back of that right leg. Okay, then bend your right knee, set that right foot down, slide the right leg long along the mat, and gently pull left knee into both hands. Staying with your breath, keeping your throat, your jaw, tongue relaxed. Can you still feel the ribs filling, and the filling of the lungs, and exhale, releasing? So a lot can be done with the mere attention to the breath and subtle openings and closings in the rib cage and the hips can be moving even when there visually doesn't seem to be much going on. And now as we hold that left knee, we can push it into the hands. We can start to move the outer left hip forward away from us to try and match the outer hips together. A little bit of a strength or isometric work here. And then the right arm goes straight out from the shoulder to the ground, leaving the left hand to hold the outer left knee exclusively. And now on exhale, peeling open that bent left leg halfway to the ground. So notice if you can get your left elbow down like a kickstand, you've got some support, but the other support you need to always keep in mind is that deep core support. So there are fine muscles connecting the two pelvic halves across the midline. And those have to be in play to keep you safe as you come away from the midline. Let's come back to center with that left knee. Let's kick the leg up to the sky like rockets. And if it's too much on your low back, of course you can bend your right knee and slide your right foot back toward you. But otherwise, we have a right angle between both legs, the right leg pushing down into the ground, the left leg billowing up and extending out of the hip, out of the knee, out of the bones of the feet, and then pushing gently into our bound hands in the back of the hamstring. Again, it doesn't look like much, but if you were to stay here for several breaths, if not a few minutes, you would eventually begin to discover, like an archaeologist, and excavate the nuances of the two legs and how they connect to the mainframe of the body. Most of the time we rush through these movements and don't discover the finer point. So let's bend that left knee, put the left foot down, slide it long, take a breath, relaxing the attenuation of the legs. And then you're gonna go ahead and pull both knees into your body again. Hold now the creases of the outer knees. And as you pull the knees in, inhale. You exhale, tuck your chin. See if you can use the momentum of your legs to roll up to seated. If this isn't possible, then you can go off to the side and come up to seated. Let's just do a little work before we get back onto our backs and do more rotations there. So we're going to hold the knees with the palms pressing into the knees, chest lifting for Navasana prep. Now can you peel your toes off the ground, pull them back toward you, and just create attenuation between the lower body and the upper body. So this is your Navasana, and if you've got the core muscles engaged, you can reach forward like you're holding a box. And just keep that lower belly drawn in, the shoulders relaxed. So again, even if you were to stay here and work the heels down into the ground, the heels energetically dragging back toward the hips, and then breathe. This is like chair pose in a way. But if you want to capture your legs, lean back and hover the heels an inch, you can do that. Okay, so now we're going to straighten the legs forward and lift the arms up to the sky. Inhale and exhale like we're catching a falling object in the arms. Bring the palms to the sky and lift, inhale and exhale. This is a basic movement that we're going to use to get our core moving. And now I'm going to start to use the feet as well. As I reach up to the sky, point the toes forward. As I exhale and catch this imaginary object, pull the toes back. So this is a simple version. Then I could start to go back, lean back a little for some core work. Inhale, coming up, and exhale, just challenging myself going back. So take this to your own measure, and your challenge, if you choose, is to go all the way down onto your back. I'm going to pull the knees in now. We have no towel roll. And then drop them down like we're doing bridge once again. Now, let the arms come straight out from the shoulders. Inhale, open the knees out to the sides. Let the low back arch a bit. Exhale, push the knees together and flatten the low back. Repeat, open the knees, the feet are planted underneath them. Arch the low back. Exhale, push the knees together. And repeat. So we're butterflying the knees out and in. You feel the psoas muscles opening, lengthening, and then exhaling, the deep core muscles coming on board. Simple exercises today. And then come back to center, slide one leg long, the other leg long, bring the arms by the hips, and release. So it's really important after doing these subtle and somewhat simple engagements to come back to your Shavasana, release, relax your body. And again, you can decide to take a towel roll under your head for these exercises if it feels good. So now we're going to bring both knees to bed position again. And make sure you're not too close to a wall. I'm going to slide myself forward. And you may want to come up, roll off to your side, and just take a peek. If you haven't done this before, we used to do it quite frequently as we repeat the spiraling exercise we started with in class. We had the towel roll under the shoulders. So I inhale here, I arch my low back, I exhale, drop the knees over to the left, and I start to externally rotate the right arm. And now, like the hand of a clock, that right arm is going to come over with me, overhead, as I roll over the left. And then I go back onto my back, inhale, the knees come together, exhale, the knees go to the right. The left arm, externally rotation, comes overhead to 12 noon, so I roll over to the right. So now you can see what I'm doing. Take a peek, and I'm going to have a full body spiral. Also in play is the upper knee pushing away on the diagonal. This is going to totally rinse the spine, the rib cage. Go easy. And again, the towel roll under your head may feel really good for a neck massage. Some of you, a few of you may get all the way over so that the shoulders and the hips stack. And the forehead is almost pressing toward the ground. So a couple more. Inhale and exhale, rotate. Inhale to center, exhale, rotate. Essentially, all you're doing is giving yourself a big back rub. You come back to center, slide one leg long, other leg long, relax, and release. Okay, let's hold the knees once again, and then you can either roll up or roll to the side to come up to seated. Then we're going to come up to standing and find our chairs for standing work. So the exercise I just did on the ground is similar to what we've done in the past, where I have you swing the arms like so. And you can try this now just for fun. Reaching opposite arm across the body. And it allows you to open up the rib cage in the back. Okay, so you can do this really in a relaxed way, letting the arms be more passive. You can do it in a more active way and really reach and extend through the arm. The leg on the same side is attenuated and rotating in the same direction. It's a great opener. Let's go into a couple of standing poses now, and let's take our chair to the front of the mat. You can take your hands to the top of the chair, you can take them to the seat of the chair, walk your feet back, create a right angle, and then drop your head within the arms. Bend your knees and lengthen both sets of ribs forward, and exhale, straightening the legs to your measure. Chair dog. Inhale, you can bend. You might look forward toward the extended arms, exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend, and exhale, straighten. One more, bending, maybe looking forward, pressing the chair, exhale, straighten. Then inhale, coming forward and dropping your knees down carefully to the floor. I'm going to take the right foot forward, and the chair now, if you have it, is right inside that right knee. And you can press your straight arms into the chair, hug the chair on the outside, the right side with that right knee a little bit, and lift the chest.
Now, if you want more work, if the class is feeling too soft for you, you can curl your left toes under, lift and straighten the back leg on inhale, and exhale, bring that back knee down. So some people require movement to feel like they're doing something. But remember, the breath is movement. And the isometric work, hugging the chair with the inner right knee, pushing down into the chair to lift the chest, is sufficient. Pushing down into the back shin. Now we're going to do a little rotation and just take that left hand across the right knee. You can slide your right hand into the inner crease of your right hip. And just encourage that right hip from hiking up tall. And look to your right. And you can take this anywhere you want to go. You can free the right arm behind you. You could take a prayer twist if you want. But then we come back to center and place the hands on the top of the chair. Curl those left toes under and start to straighten the front leg. So here we are setting up for triangle pose by first squaring off as much as possible the hips. Take a peek back at that left heel and ground it. And just pushing the straight arms into the chair like a very mild high push-up. Now energize the legs from the hips through the knees to the feet. And see if you can take your left hand to your left hip and just start to rotate to your left. Triangle pose with chair. Again, the legs are outstretched and engaged, muscles hugging bones. You can stay here. You can bring your left arm up to the sky. You can also keep it at the hip. So push into the chair, the right palm, push into the ground with the feet. And then from here, everyone brings their left hand to their hip and bend into the front knee for side angle. Again, that right knee can be hugging the chair. The right hand is just inside of it as well. Bend into that front knee to your measure, but you want to keep grounded through that back heel, the left heel. Just work here. And if you feel stable, then the left arm comes up and over. Push into your points of contact. So let's go ahead and take the hands to the chair, square off, lift your back heel, and just take your low lunge with an extended back leg. Now there's two options. One, the fancy option is to take a chair plank here and see if you can shoot that right leg back to the left. If that is not possible, you come down on that left knee, you bring the right knee to join it, and you switch sides in a safe way. So now we're going to hug the left knee outside that chair, push the palms and straight arms into the seat, and find all the attenuations. So the hugging of the adductor muscles inside the legs. If you're riding on a horse, engaging them, pushing down into the seat of the chair to lift the chest. Good isometric work. But again, if you need movement, curl your right toes under, lift your right knee, inhale, and exhale, come down. It's always an interesting experiment to play with stillness versus movement, because when people move, they tend to lose their connections and their intelligence. So now I'll take a rotation, right hand across left knee. Here you can see I'm going to slide the left hand across this outer left hip, towards the left hip to ground, the right shin to push down, and then I lift up the pranic element. Everything above the diaphragm, the rib cage, elevates and lights up. Everything below the diaphragm descends and connects with the earth. When you get the right measure of both of these, it should feel good. Again, you can take any number of permutations. You can reach back with the left arm. You can take a deeper prayer twist. That's up to you. Now we're going to take the hands to the top of the chair, curl the right toes under, and start to set up for that triangle pose. So the question is, how far are the feet apart? And you have to answer this question yourself. If you're a beginner or you have injuries, closer is better. Taller people tend to go wider. So let's square off as much as we can in asymmetry. And we're in a high plank position with the straight arms. But there's not a lot of work here as we push from the hips through the knees into the feet. And then start to take the rotation to the right, right hand to hip. And keep pushing the feet into the ground. Here the toes can be lifted. And if you feel grounded and supported, your points of contact, right arm comes up and breathe. You take your right hand to your hip, look forward and bend your front knee, your left knee, take side angle. And then maybe the right arm comes up and over and you lean forward. Again, any sort of movement that feels good here, you can come up to Trikonasana, down to side angle. Play with these points of contact, or stay in stillness, stay in structure. Then we're going to come and square off with both hands on the chair. You can decide to be fancy and take a plank pose with your chair, or just come down onto your knees. Eventually, then you're going to place your forearms now, like you're going to say your prayers. On the chair, walk your knees back and place your forehead between your elbows like this. Take about 5 or 6 breaths while I grab my water. Use a towel on your chair if it's hard. Okay, so let's come up to our chair dog again. And again, you can have the hands low on the seat, or you can have them high on the back of the seat. Maybe since if you've gone low, go high, get a little more extension now. The palms pushing down, bend your knees, look down, and then try to straighten the legs as much as you can. And then place the hands down on the seat again. And you're going to step your right foot forward, your left foot back, just as we had before. Maybe a little bit more separation between the feet. You can decide. And go ahead and take that right foot inside the chair legs for Parsvottanasana. So now we've got the heels not quite on the same line, but depending on your hips, pretty close. And we're just creating the flat back we did in triangle pose. And you can work here. If you find this too difficult, you can even work up here, higher on the back of the seat. And then you're going to start to fold forward. So for some people, this isn't very much. You just slide the arms forward and drop the head within the arms. Others, folks can place the head all the way down into the chair and the hands to the floor. So choose what works for you and keep this compression or hugging of the outer hips toward one another.
Then everybody come up to your flat back. Take a shot of twisting triangle with the chair. So we're going to take our right hand to our right hip and keep the left hand on the seat of the chair. Engage the legs, press them into the floor. Inhale, then rotate the chest to the right. Keep pushing into the floor, particularly with that back heel, left heel. And then try to swivel or sweep back the right hip as you push forward into the right toe mat. Square off. And then, again, you can take the right foot to the left for your high push-up on chair and just switch legs or reset to your body's own measure. So now we have Parsvottanasana, extended forward fold over the front leg, which is the left side. You can work on your chair seat, you can work higher on the top of the seat back. And then you start to progressively, as we did at the beginning of class, start to incline forward, paying attention to the outer hips, the symmetry of the outer hips, to the points along the back ribs, low back, mid back, upper back, as you dive down into the pose. So not forsaking your awareness of your low back as you try to take a stretch over the front leg. You can certainly micro bend that left knee if it helps you. And then you're going to come up with your hands on the seat of the chair, take your left hand to your hip, start to rotate your chest to the left, push your feet into the floor, sweep your left hip back, and this is the chair version, twisting triangle. Come back to square off, hands on the chair, left foot to right, and you can take your chair dog, extending your arms, kicking your hips back and looking for your toes. Walk the feet toward the chair one at a time. Take a forward fold with hip width feet. You can maybe, so you get your head to the chair, bend your knees a little. Take your hands to the floor. Then you're going to duck foot, or evert your toes out to the sides, come down to Malasana, and you can use your handy chair for support. Give your low back some relief. And if you wanted an extra challenge, you place the hands on the chair, you lift up your heels like so, and then you exhale, lower the heels down, lifting and lowering. Finally, and last, glide your fingertips back, sit down, extend your legs forward and through the chair. Through the chair. So I'm going to take it under the chair and pull the chair close to me. I can have my blanket roll here as well if I want, if the chair is not padded. And I'm going to take a forward fold using my chair. I can have the knees bent if I want, or straightened. And I'm going to start to reach for the back legs of the chair and place the forehead down. So if this is too easy, the chair slides away from you a little bit more. Again, the knees can be bent, and you slowly glide your forehead to your towel roll. Grasp the chair back. Slide the chair away, and you can just take this progressively.
and then coming up. And now we're going to take the little fancy and slide the legs out from the chair. And we're going to turn ourselves around. So take a peek at what I'm going to do so you don't get confused. I'm going to do the reverse aspect. So that's forward fold Paschimottanasana, and then Purvottanasana is the reverse direction of the back bend. So I'm going to show the easy way, and I'm going to pull the chair back right up behind my shoulder blades like this, and just wrap my arms and hold the front chair legs, and just lift the chest. I engage and tone the legs, they're straight in front of me. And that could be the whole ticket for you. Some folks take a deeper back bend with your towel roll on your chair like that. And you start to lean back, make sure your chair isn't going to slide. Take the hands to the back of the neck and lay the head on the towel roll. This may be too much of a back bend for many folks, but I'm just going to show it. And then I could even reach back with the arms. When you come out of it, you're going to use your hands on your head. Okay, so one last thing, I'm reverse table. You can slide your chair away from you like that and hold the chair legs with the straightened arms now. And this is like airplane arms. See if you can draw the shoulder blade tips together. Open the chest even more. You can have slightly bent knees as you do this, it's fine. And then from here, watch. I'm going to glide the heels back toward me. Take the fingers out and lift the hips up. And maybe my head rests on the chair so that it's supported. Careful coming up and down if you're doing this. Drop back. All right, and then to release, I'm going to take the legs up the chair. So take a peek and do a supported viparina kharani. So there's a number of ways to do this. If you had a wall, you could take the chair to the wall, for example. And what I'm going to do is to get my left hip pretty close to the chair. So take a peek. I'm going to lay down on the right side body, and then I'm going to roll the legs, the calves up the chair like this. I can take the knees apart, and this is the restorative viparina kharani. I could also, just to show you variations, use my towel roll under the arch of the low back. So that's going to go up near your chair, right in front of the chair like this, and there's a little bit of skill to get onto that towel roll, which could be slid under the low back after the fact, but I like to get up on that towel roll with my right hip, and then I go onto the chair, and I can just use my hands to reposition just in the lower arch of the low back there. And so this should feel wonderful, but you can even take it one step further. If the chair is near the wall, it's not going to go anywhere, and start to extend your legs forward and straighten them so the heels rest on the back of the chair, the wall, what have you. And that can feel good. The last option, I'm going to leave you with this before you can experiment, is to bend the knees. Let the heels rest on the chair, and maybe if your legs are able to do this, free float the legs up to the sky. I prefer the supported options because it allows you to relax for a bit.
And then allow the lymph system to drain. So we'll take a full minute here in whatever variation of those options I've shown. Arms out to the sides, goalposts by the hips, whatever's comfortable for your neck and shoulders. Then you're just going to come into your breath, making it pleasing experience to observe the breath coming in and out. And you've created, hopefully, a structure or support for your legs and back that feels good, that allows you to relax. Relaxing the throat, the neck, the shoulders. The shoulder blades, deepening their connection to the ground. Your low back deepening its connection to the floor of the towel roll. All sorts of options are possible here. Supta Baddha Konasana with the feet on the chair, feet together, would be another variation. And you can move from one variation to the next as you spend some quality time in this inversion. So check in with your body and see what feels best. Let's go another couple of breaths here before we dismount from this apparatus. And again, the value of the towel roll right in the sacrum is to hold and support the low spine so the rest of the spine, right up to the top of the head, can unwind like a caterpillar on a summer's day. You can stay here longer if you want, but otherwise, if your knees are not bent, bend them, carefully roll off to the side. Carefully roll off to one side. Take a breath on your side body and come up to seated to close off class. So a pretty gentle practice, hopefully useful today, and you can sit now and feel how your rib cage, your spine, your hips feel. Sometimes you don't have to go all out or move around very fast to achieve some nice postures and some awareness within the yoga poses. Palms to the heart, thumbs to the forehead center.